Welcome to the Learning Reimagined podcast, where we discuss solutions to employee training and development challenges in the Caribbean. We speak with Caribbean professionals who are experts at helping people in Caribbean organizations excel. And we want to help you, our Caribbean audience, level up your teams, your employees, so that your businesses can succeed. Today I have with me Chevonnese Whyte. Chevonnese Whyte is a passionate creative who aims to bring fun, technology, and entrepreneurship into the classroom. She has taught at the Vocational Training and Development Institute, VTDI, and the iCreate Institute. She's presently a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona, and she's also pursuing her PhD in education. Animation is one of her many passions, which has led her to assist with crafting the animation industry through the Jamaica Animation Network. Today, what we're going to be speaking about is how to create engaging employee training or engaging online training for employees. So it's an exciting discussion, and of course, we're powered by One-on-One. Let me not forget that plug right there. We're powered by One-on-One. So before I start and dive into all of the questions that we're going to be focusing on, Chevonnese, I want to learn a little bit more about you. Tell us more about your journey to animation, why you love animation, those type of things.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna try and keep this short because we're not recording a movie here, right?
Right, we're not recording.
Okay. So I've always been a fan of art and mathematics from ever since prep school. But every time when I watch a movie, my dad would I'd always correct them. Why did you do it that way? Why didn't you just write it this way? And my dad would always say, why don't you just go and write your own movies? But, you're thinking, this is Jamaica, we don't make movies. Right. I just have to watch what they do. So I went into graphic design, and I was teaching graphic design at Carmack and at VTDI, and animation just started to become a thing in Jamaica. So everywhere there was a certificate program, I would study it, you know? And then suddenly they said, let's teach these people how to teach animation. And both schools put my name forward to be a part of that program. And I started to meet other creatives that are in Jamaica that develop animations and live action movies. And we have such talented people here.
Amazing.
And then that also opened me up to the international community. So we've had persons from Disney here. We've had, yes. We've had persons from Spain, persons from France, from Canada, from Thailand coming here, and even Japan and Korea coming here to advise us on our animation industry. So we're a little bit, but we talawa.
Wow. So that's amazing. And I love that the world, or the Caribbean, I should say, is opening up more to these animation opportunities and getting, globally, globally ready.
Yes.
For
Honestly, I can tell you what my personal mission is. I want to see Jamaican at the Oscars, celebrating a win at the Oscars, or at least a nomination at the Oscars, and it's a Jamaican produced animation.
Wow.
That is my goal for the Jamaican animation industry.
That's a big goal.
It's not a big goal. Easy peasy thing, that man.
Easy like Freddy, or whatever that phrase is. It's Freddy like Freddy. But anyways, so let's dive into the meat of our discussion, right? Which is talking about how to create engaging training experiences for employees. My first question: how can HR leaders identify the training needs of each employee so that training courses can be designed to meet those employees' needs?
All right, so let me just give a little backdrop and an unsolicited advertisement plug for the institution that I attended. So I not only taught at the VTDI, but I was also a student there, and they have a program called the Postgraduate Diploma in Education and Training there. And when we when we studied that, there's a course in there about training, and they always say one of the first step that you need to do is a needs assessment.
Okay.
Right? And what is happening there is that you need to contact the persons who are supposed to be in the training and find out from them what do they need. A lot of times we make the assumption that this is what they need. You know, oh, you're it looks like you don't understand mathematics, so we're just going to give you training on mathematics. Or it looks like you need training on graphic design, so we're going to give you training on graphic design. But really what you need to do is to have a conversation with your staff to find out what is it that you want to do, and then we now deliver that training for you.
And how do we have these conversations? Do we just draw them into our room one-on-one and say,
I think you should just bam and boop them on the head and just drag them in the room and say, this is what you need to do. No, nothing like that. Really? Okay. So again, at the VTDI is a part of the Heart Trust, and they have a career development thing. I can't remember how they did it, but they ask you, there's a form that you fill out every 2 years that you have to do it, to say, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And what that does is, so for instance, like if you want to be the marketing manager of an arm of Heart,
right,
then you have to identify, where are you now? And where do you want to be? What do you need to have? And then now we fill that gap, right? So that's one way you could do it. Another way that you could do it, because you could have staff that don't necessarily want to become a manager. They just really love being a graphic designer, or they really love being a videographer, right? And they just want to get better at what they're doing. So again, it could be that you just have one-on-one conversations with them and say, you know, what's happening? What are the new things? What is happening in your industry? Is there anything new that is happening that you want to learn? Let us see if we can provide that opportunity for you. So it's really just having a conversation. Depending on the size of the organization, it might be a forum, right? Or it could just be a one-on-one conversation.
Okay. And as you mentioned, size of the organization, the larger the organization is, the more likely it is that you use a form, because it's easier to manage.
But then at the same time too, I'm always for the personal touch. Right. So even if it is that you have a large organization, you know, at least speak with the department head. There is somebody who is in charge of graphic design and videography. There is somebody who is in charge of IT. There's someone who is in charge of training. So if at the very least have that conversation with that head, and then that head, if your organization is run in a way where it's easy for persons to have conversations, then that head can now speak to their, I don't like to use the word subordinate, the people that they work with. Right? They can have those conversations, and then now they can get better understanding as to what the needs are, because that's what is going to make a training be successful or not. If you give me something that I don't want to do and I'm not interested in doing it, there is nothing you can do. You could beat me over my head, you could lead me to the water, you could beat my bottom. I am not going to do it. It's gonna be a struggle for me to do it. But if it's something that I really want, and if it's something that is going to help me to grow as an individual, then I will invest the time into it so that I can become better at what I do. And then now I can be a better oh dear, I'm going to say something hard. You're going to be a more useful tool to the organization.
We get what you mean. All right, that's a very good thought, a very good response to understanding how we actually pinpoint the needs of each employee, so that we can create these courses. But then you mentioned this a little bit a while ago in your answer. Some people have a challenge getting their teams to actually complete courses. And you were kind of hinting at that, but if you're not really interested in the course in the first place, you're not going to complete it. So aside from getting people to do courses that interest them, aside from that, how can we, get people to complete courses?
All right. So there is the theory of the carrot and the stick, right? So it's either they get something nice and the niceties is going to motivate them, or it's going to be the stick and it's not so nice, but it still gets them to the end of the road, right? Depending, because sometimes it might be a course that they don't want to do, but it is necessary for them to do it in order for the organization to thrive. So let's say Grace, for instance. ISO is very important. That's a standard that Grace has to adhere to. So everyone will need to know the standards. So you'd have to do a course in order to do those standards, right? But I don't want to know about the standards. That's just something that's not going to help me to progress. That's just going to help me to progress while at Grace. It's not going to help my personal development. So in a case like that, you might have to say, well, we're going to have to, oh God, I'm gonna sound like an evil person now. We might have to deduct your pay, or we might have to lessen your vacation days. You understand?
Like
the stick
penalty, yeah.
Right, the penalty as to why but you don't want to go that route. Nobody likes to be in a working space or an environment where there are consequences to it, right? So you can use a carrot, which now could mean, all right, if you do this course that you don't want to do, you get extra vacation days. Yeah. Right? Or, you get time off. So instead of working 8 hours for the day, you can work 7 hours for the day. And then that extra hour, it is the course that you're working on, stuff like that. So there are strategies that we can employ to get persons to complete a course. In some cases, it could be even a bonus. Money always looks nice. Always looks nice. Even if it's just a little, spending money to go for drinks one Friday evening, it's still money that I'm getting that I can go for drinks on one Friday evening, so we can use little things to help employees to go the distance. Now, another thing that we don't take into consideration when helping persons to complete COVID, and I know that's a big word, right? COVID has taught us that there are lots of stressors that affect persons' mental state. We have lots of stressors that affect persons' personality, even their motivation, right? So we need to also be cognizant of the other things outside of the working space that will affect the employees. And once we take those things into consideration, the likelihood is we'll come up with plans or incentives that will help them to complete their course. So, for instance, if you have a working mother, worse if it's a single mother, and then now you're saying, well, outside of work, you're going to have to complete this course. No matter how much she wants to do that course, she might not be able to do it because she only has a babysitter, or she has the school available from this hour to this hour, and so she won't be able to dedicate that extra time in order to complete the course. So an incentive for someone like that would be complete the course during work hours. That will more allow that person to finish, and then they will be more motivated because they're like, well, obviously the organization is taking me and my personal situation into consideration. You feel more embraced, you feel more loved. The likelihood that's going to happen is that person is now going to replicate that love back to the organization. So those are the things that it always comes back, at least to me, it always comes back to the individual and having those conversations with the individuals, or as best as possible to have that conversation with the individual.
Yeah, definitely. Moving to actual creation of these programs and these courses now. So successful online training programs don't push courses onto employees, then leave them to swim on their own. There should be ongoing support.
Yes.
Hands-on learning opportunities and feedback on how on-the-job performance has improved. How can online training be designed to create this balance?
All right. So I am a firm believer in hybrid education. Yes, and there's nothing wrong with fully online. So for me, how I define hybrid is you have you have interactions on the computer, and then you have interactions with people.
Right.
Because a part of education, a part of being a human being is social interactions.
Right.
Again, I'm going to say the dirty word. COVID, when it happened, a lot of us as educators and as students, we had to make that adjustment to not being able to socialize with others, because education is also about socialization.
Right.
We form our little cliques in the classroom as students, and we have these little conversations, and you go, what the teacher there say? What there happened there? So we never really understand that.
Yes.
Right? And that happens organically because we're in the classroom and you're seeing the person, and then you can have that conversation. And it's the same thing that happened with instructors. You're in the coffee room or you're having lunch together, and then you go, oh my God, I can't believe the student did this thing. Did I do it the wrong way? What do you do? And then again, an organic conversation happens.
Right.
So I do think there is a place for face-to-face, but I also think there's a place for online. And online has gotten a lot of smack recently, and I think it's unfair because, treating online like it's a person. It is a person. But it was getting a bad rep,
right?
Because I think we weren't dealing with online how it should have been dealt with.
Right.
We weren't taking into consideration the social aspect of education. Socially, as in with the instructors, socialization with regards to the students. Everyone was isolated. The teacher is at home and they're isolated from the students. The student is at home and they're isolated from the teacher and other students. So it wasn't working in that regard. And that's the reason why I think hybrid is the way to go. So when it comes back now to your question on, let me just make sure it was how
can online training be designed to create the balance?
Yes. So with that, I think now that we have to do it as a hybrid course.
Okay.
And so that will now help persons. Yes, you have the online space now where you can access the material. So for my students, majority, if not all of my students are creatives. Creatives are up at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I don't entertain a student calling me, Miss, at 1 o'clock in the morning, Miss, I'm having problems with this thing. Can you help me? No. Click on answering your call.
Yeah.
Right? But with online, I can provide videos, I can provide reading material, I can provide whatever that is needed for the student to support them so that they can go through the online material on their own. And then know when it comes at a proper time, they can know contact me and we can have a conversation around that. So I think that is how we can alleviate that problem. We're having both online, and there are some persons who can survive in just an online space by themselves, but we should have opportunities for contact, one-on-one contact, because as I said, as human beings, within education there is a social part of it that a lot of times we ignore, that it is important. And we don't highlight that at all.
That is true. Even for the most introverted of persons, you still need that type of social interaction, that type of, to kind of drive you and push you to get your goals accomplished, to do things. Yeah, very, very true. When we think about online courses and designing them, sometimes we like to make things look pretty and get into all of the obsession about how the thing looks rather than the substance of what is in the course. So how can people balance design and substance with online courses?
Christine, I didn't come here for inquisition, why are you asking me the hard question? This was supposed to be something easy peasy. All right. So, I did graphic design, right? So, we are obsessed with perfection and making it look good. But then at the same time, as an educator, the most important thing is to just get the information out. As humans, we're just obsessed with perfection and perfectionism. And honestly, I don't think it's possible. We can strive for it, but You know, if it's not attained, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. And to be honest, especially in the online space, your students just want you to look real. They want to know you're a real person. You're not this model or an actor. You know, you don't have to get it right, you know, because a lot of times because I was creating videos long in advance before this whole traumatic incident 2 years ago, right? And I would make my videos, and at the time my daughter was a baby, so I had to wait until it was in the middle of the night, and I'm recording the videos, and the dog is barking, my neighbor's dog is barking, and so you hear in the background, woof, 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 and I'd release it to the students, and they're like, Miss, you know what part me love about your video? When the dog go bark. I'm like, what? Because in my head, I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to re-record this thing and all of this drama and all of that stuff. But the honest truth is they just want to know that you're a real person. When they talk to me, they just know, I can just have a conversation with Miss, because honestly, when you're real with your students, that's when you get the stories out of them. Why is it? Okay, and I know this is going to touch on some corns right now. I don't know why I love to do this, but sometimes students are failing. Sometimes students are distant, and we don't know why they're distant. And we make assumptions. As educators, we make assumptions. Oh, because them this, and because of them that. Why they're not performing. But there could be other things happening. I've got stories out of my students. It's heartbreaking to hear some of the journey that some of these students are going through at the age that they're going through. And the only reason why, at least my assumption is, the only reason why I was getting those stories out of the students is because I'm real with them. I'm just frank. I tell them, listen, this is how it is. They know when I'm going through difficulties, they know when I'm going through difficulties. When I'm going through happy times, they know when I'm going through happy times. So it makes them more relaxed to then now say, Miss, this is what is happening with me. And that's the reason why, you know, I would say to them, I'm hard on them. Every one of my students can tell you, they'll be like, oh my God, Mrs. Whyte, she's rough. Lord of His mercy. But she will listen to you. And she will take your situation into consideration. You just need to communicate what is happening. So when it comes on to preparing your course content, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look like the best graphic designer had created it. It doesn't have to look like it's out of Hollywood or anything if it's a video. The most important thing is, are you creating the right content for your students? And are you delivering it in the way that your students can absorb the information? That's the most important thing. For me, the worst thing is if you do it with one set of students and it's not working, just re-record it another time and improve it and then move forward.
Right.
But at the end of the day, don't make it too long. You know, we are now in a society where it
go. Yeah.
You know, things bite size. If we're watching a video on TikTok or watching a video on YouTube, you know, if you don't grab me in the first 10 seconds or 15 seconds, I'm moving on to the next video. You know, first thing is going to catch me is the title. And then, 10 seconds in, if you're not telling me what I need to know, move forward. So that's all you need to do now with your content. It's not necessarily the look of the content. I'm not saying don't focus on the content, the look of it, you know.
Right.
But the look is not the most important thing. It is, what are you delivering? Is it something that the students want to engage with? And then now, are you packaging it in such a way that it's easy for them to absorb the information? That's the most important bit. I want to mention something else. I know you didn't ask me this, but now that we're talking about content,
Yes,
I want to mention this. We're now moving towards an inclusive society, right? And a lot of people think, oh, the inclusive society just means LBQ. I'm going to get into trouble. I'm going to get into trouble. But we know, right?
Yeah.
And, but that's not what inclusivity means. We're trying to include everyone. There shouldn't be anyone who feels like education is not available to them. If I'm blind, I should be able to to learn just as well as someone who is sighted. If I can't hear, then I should learn just as well as someone who can hear, right? And so what I am trying, and I'm not telling you to do this right now, because it's not possible for one person to create all of this content at one time. One step at a time, sweet Jesus, right?
Right.
One step at a time. So what I did was I created some videos for my students, because videos are the easiest to create. Then, and that was content that I created some time ago. Then the next step that I did was to create, I call them textbooks, but it's just books with text. It's just simply text in there.
Yeah.
For those students, so if I'm blind and I have a reader, it can read it for me and I can still engage with the content, right? And then now the next thing that I'm going to be doing this summer is to use a software to convert those materials into audio.
Okay.
Because especially for me, I like it when I'm doing my housework
And you have
and I can listen to the content. I shouldn't have to be in front of a computer in order to learn. Yeah. I shouldn't have to be in a classroom in order to learn. That's, to me, that's not what learning is. You know, that's just trapping me in a classroom. Learning, I should be able to do it when I want to do it, because that's the type of society that we're in now. We're in an on-demand society. So when I want to learn, that is when I should be able to learn. So if it's 1 a.m. in the morning, I can learn at 1 a.m. in the morning. If I am doing my housework, I can get my learning done at the same time.
Right.
I'm inside a taxi, but I don't want to take out my textbook and read. I can pop in my earbuds and I can listen to the content, and I'm learning as I go along.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
So that is something that I know you didn't ask me about
That's
it.
fine. That's fine. It's a perfect segue into what I want to get into now.
Yes.
Because you spoke about the content for students, and in this case, students are employees in our organizations, right? And spoke about inclusivity. And in
Yes.
organizations, we have people with different learning needs, learning styles.
Oh, yes.
And people with different disabilities, as you were mentioning. How do we cater to the different learning styles using different types of content, and ensuring that everybody
feels included?
Yeah.
This is where I think the technology comes in. Because for me, so let me go back again now with regards to even the audio. I don't just want to put the audio anywhere. I want to make the audio a podcast. So a student can subscribe to a subject, and then students can create their own content, audio content, and post it in the podcast. And then now students are learning from others, and they're learning my content. I know it's this nice little, engaging space, right? And I think that's what we have to think about. Don't think, well, there is this technology that exists and I want to use this technology. It's more, I have these type of employees and I now need to find the technology that will help these employees. I think we often get caught up in the technology itself.
Right.
And we forget that the technology is a tool.
Right.
At the end of the day, you notice every time I keep going back to it, it's the people. It's the one-on-one. It's the conversations. That is what is going to make your training successful or not. So once you know what type of people that you have. So if the majority, I'm only saying this a lot because I'm a mother, right? But if you have the majority of your staff, they are mothers and you know that they're busy outside, then maybe a podcast would be the better way to give them their information.
Right.
While now you might have a lot of single men in your organization and they have them huge TVs. Why are men so obsessed with huge TVs?
These things that fill up the wall.
Although I must admit, the other day I was watching World Champs and I was thinking I need to have a huge TV myself. It's very sad, but still. Then maybe video content would work better for that type of staff. So you need to look at your staff and you need to ask your staff, what would work best for you. You know, I'm in my car. I don't listen to radio anymore. I don't know what the new music is because I'm listening to my podcast when I'm in the car, because I don't like to study, but I like learning. I know that sounds contradictory, but I really don't like studying, but I like learning. Yeah. And so for me, you know, I'm in the car, and the best time is when you're stuck in traffic, especially if you live in Portmore.
Oh gosh.
Shout out to my Portmore people. I don't know how you do it. I used to live in Portmore for 18 years, and I did the Causeway Bridge. So you know it's a long time.
Way back in the day.
Bumper to bumper traffic. That's the perfect time to be listening to a podcast and learning about something. And then now what you do is that when you come back to the office, you can dedicate a 15 minutes or 30 minutes within the office time to say, let's have a conversation around this topic. And then everyone can learn from each other. Everyone can give their perspective. And that's how now we can now incentivize, we can motivate, we can ensure that persons have learned it the way in which we want them to learn it.
Definitely. I can't close out this conversation without speaking to you about animation.
Oh,
that's your thing.
That's my thing. Yeah. That's my baby.
Yeah. So I know a lot of the people watching are probably not animation. They don't know how to do animation. They don't know how to make it easy. To me, it just seems like some complex thing that I will never understand. So for those who would like to make their content more engaging through animation, what do you think is the best way for them to do that?
All right. So if you're not an animation person at all, you can do animation in PowerPoint.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
The cool thing with animation is that you're moving from one slide to the next. So I used to do this. This was when I wasn't even training animation. I just knew I wanted the stuff to move.
Okay.
So I was teaching something and I had a map. And I wanted to show where it was populated. This was before the times when you could just go to like a Google Earth or so, or Google Maps, and just say, hey, give me the video, and just go pop, 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 right? I didn't know how to do it. I wanted to show where, I can say it, Red Stripe. I can say it. I wanted to show different places where Red Stripe was being distributed. And all I did was, the first slide, I had the map. The second slide, I had the map with the first location. The second slide, 2 spots and with the map. And just on and on and on. And then as I'm going through the slides, it is populating the map, right? Yeah. So it can be as simple as that. Then now we have other tools now that have been coming around. Because in all truth and to be honest, being an educator in today's world, it is very, very hard. You are required to know animation, graphic design, videography, right? All me know mathematics. So you ask me if you do them something, man. Nobody never teach me that. You know, I just want to teach mathematics where I make it so hard, right? So it is very hard now to be an educator. So we have tools now that will make it easy. I'm not saying make it easy, but easier on you. So you have stuff like Toonly. Stuff like I think it's called Voomly, and I know about Powtoons. Powtoons was one of those that I originally started with, and you can get Powtoons for free, and then you can also upgrade and pay for a package out of Powtoons. But it works just like PowerPoint, and then now you can add the little graphics and the animations and those things in there. And what they call the one that we love, Prezi is also another tool that we love, right? But at the end of the day, you know, I'm giving all of these suggestions. Don't just say, oh, this technology and I want to use this technology. Again, look at yourself, look at your needs, look at what works for you, what works with your workflow. You know, don't stress out yourself anymore. We're having too many teachers dropping down nowadays. Don't stress out yourself. Find something that works for you and then use that tool. And better yet, something that the students respond to. Because at the end of the day, that is the main thing. You want the students to be engaged.
Definitely.
So that is my suggestion.
All right. So just to wrap up.
Yes.
Wrap up now. We want to speak about everything that we have covered in a nutshell by you giving us some tips, some closing words about how organizations can make their training more engaging for employees.
Talk to your people. It's simple. Listen, a lot of times training fail because the end user was not involved in the process.
Right.
And as you had said, we need to have that follow-up. It cannot be, we do this 3-hour training and we're just going to pile everything in your brain and then suddenly you're going to just know. That is... Education does, like that. We're not in the matrix just yet, right? at least I don't think we are. Right? So education doesn't work like that. It has to be that you're having conversations. So as I was suggesting before, dedicate even 15 minutes of work time where persons are able to sit down and discuss the topic, and even apply it to what is happening in their workspace right now.
Right.
That is how we're going to learn. Have follow-ups, come back. And that doesn't mean test, because a lot of times, I don't know why we just love to test people. We're a testing environment now. But just coming back, even if you have the trainer coming back and saying, hey, let's do a follow-up. What do you remember? What is happening? How did you apply it? Show me how you're using it in your working space. That is what is going to make a training successful. Just coming up with a topic out of the blue without involving the end user and just saying, okay, guys, this is what you want to do. You're going to get resistance.
Yeah.
And everybody is like that. Somebody's going to look on you and tell you, okay, let's go and watch this English production. Why you want me to watch this movie? Why you don't ask me what I want
to watch, right?
We're all like that. It's not necessarily just education. So you need to get buy-in from your people. And then once you get buy-in from your people and you do follow-ups, your training is going to be successful.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And thank you so much.
No problem, Christine. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, one-on-one.
Yes, one-on-one. Learning made personal. And it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.